everybody splits up into groups, and we kind of jam some projects. So it's a lot of fun. But tonight, all of you are here. Thanks for being here. We have an excellent speaker, Brett
Sklar. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
I should have done this before, but. So Brett spoke at the RMAG, the Boulder RMAG, we are a subgroup of that. I think there are about 15 subgroups. There's a QR code that I can share if you guys want to know more about the subgroup. There's like an entrepreneur subgroup. There's different kinds of subgroup, data and AI subgroup, and so on. But this one is Denver AI is a subgroup of RMAG. Brett had spoken at the RMAG in Boulder. I didn't get a chance to go to that, but I heard great things from Dan, who's the organizer. And I said I have to meet Brett. And Brett graciously agreed to meet me. We met up, gave me a signed copy of his book. How can I say it? He's a very strategic thinker. And he's got a little bit of a marketing background, got into AI. Now, he's a well-known speaker at Vistage, which is a peer group of CEOs. So he's constantly in touch with them. He is, he knows the pulse of CEOs and all these big stakeholders. And he's helping them, number one, think strategically. And also, I like what he talks about ROAI, the return on AI. So, how can you increase your AI IQ, and how can you get return on your AI investments, right? So, a lot of times AI projects kind of end up just in, I come from a consulting background. I work for a consulting company now. A lot of those POCs, proof of concepts and demos that we do just kind of end up sitting in that space because there was no strategy behind it. And that's where somebody like Brett comes in to add that strategy piece. And his book is kind of breaking down some of those mindset type stuff as well as the strategic thinking. So without further ado, I hand over to Brett, my friend, who's going to talk about this topic. Wait, that's not the topic. But anyway, you guys know what the topic is. AI leadership without the BS is what it is. Thanks.
Yep. Cool.
We'll do that this time.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? All right. David, thank you for a great introduction. I really appreciate that. I was hoping I could pop this out and just have a walk and talk. But it's testing my strength. I need more AI to get it off the... There we go. All right. So, thank you guys for being here. Guys and gals, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate the opportunity for us to share some insights and ideas. If I say something that sounds like, that doesn't sound quite right, call me out on it. Let's have a conversation. If you experience something recently that connects with what I say that too. Let's have a conversation. This is not a huge group of people, so I really would enjoy if you bring your ideas, share your ideas. Brett, I'm going to call BS on that because, BS. And then just a very easy, short thing. My name is Brett Sklar, complicated last name. But after tonight, you will all have been Sklar'd for life. Okay, now you got it. Perfect. As David mentioned, first of all, big fan of the Rocky Mountain AI Interest Group. It's changed a lot in the last month, where it's now a much larger, more established, more formal association. And I think we're going to see a lot. And that means that they can get real sponsors, which means there's going to be a lot of really cool extra things that are going to be happening over the next few months. And I'm excited to help out. I love the community. I enjoy the community. I've spoken numerous times, both at the Boulder event about a year ago, that kind of was the very beginning of my journey with this book and this topic and this idea. And then we did our book launch at the end of July. And about a week and a half ago, I went to the AI product group, thinking I would get a lot of hostile fire, maybe friendly fire. But it turned out we really had a great conversation and enjoyed the topic. So, hope we can bring the same value here today. I'm doing this stuff because in 2019, I sold my marketing agency. 2019, I had sold a company that I spent 13 years building, scaling, and later selling. It was called Market Creation Group. It was a B2B technology marketing firm. We did a lot of marketing strategy, branding work, website work. And then my biggest partner, a private equity firm, decided they wanted to buy my firm, which was great timing because I was kind of getting burned out with all of the employees and the customers. It would have been a perfect business if it weren't for the employees or the customers. Would have been perfect. But as I started looking at what am I going to do next after I sold the business and spent some time helping with the transition, I decided I wanted to stay in the marketing realm. After a couple of tries, I went to go work for a company in the healthcare technology space. Turns out that I remembered that I made a really bad employee. And so that was a short-lived experience. And then I started a business that offered fractional CMOs, fractional chief marketing officers, mostly to B2B technology companies. And I made a decision when I started the business in 2020 that I wanted to try to do it without adding a lot of employees, without adding a lot of overhead, and trying to be as scrappy and nimble as possible. It was also during the pandemic, so our sort of idea of not needing an office, being very scrappy, being very resilient, was coming into place. And I got to the point where I had several clients. I had brought on a couple of fractional CMOs on contract, so fractional chief marketing officers that were an extended part of my team, but they were contractors. But again, I was getting to that point where I needed to hire employees, build out an operations, a sales process, a marketing process, all those things that a business needs, all the standard operating procedures. And I was like, there's gotta be a better way than building up an entire company again, where I don't make any money for years, because eventually you'll make money after you lose all your money in the business you put a lot of love into. And right around that time, I was sort of having this challenge or this choice. I discovered ChatGPT, right? November of 22, I think it was. And I was like, wow, this can do a lot of my marketing for me. Great. This can do a lot of my outbound sales emails for me. Great. And I started finding more and more and more and more things and reasons how to use generative AI in my business. And we're now at 30 fractional CMOs. We have a great business model. We have very happy customers. And I owe it all to my number one employee, ChatGPT. Also, honorable mention to my second most valuable employee, Copilot. And then our third most valuable employee right now, Gemini. So I use these tools as if they are my employees. So then I went and I taught, and then I was asked by the same private equity firm that had bought my other company. They said, hey, love what you're doing. Come talk to our CEOs. Tell them what you're doing so they can figure out how to scale it faster, better, and stronger. So I did. Next thing you know is I signed up several of them as AI advisor or AI coaching clients. I was like, holy crap, this is a business. I need to do something about it. So then I went out and started talking to a ton of CEOs through an organization called Vistage, which is a CEO. It's an organization that basically helps CEOs work together and collectively in these small groups of about 12 to 20 CEOs at a time. And now I am at, having gotten in front of about 1,264 CEOs, and I've learned a lot. So, yes, sir, please.
I have to get out from under this light because it's flashing and it's killing me. Okay, second, your order for AIs, you said Copilot and Gemini before Claude. That was just interesting to me. No Claude love?
The reason why ChatGPT number 1, Copilot number 2, and Gemini number 3 is because when I do a lot of advising work with my clients, I try to make the barrier to entry of AI as low as possible. I talk to CEOs that are in mid-market, middle America companies, manufacturing, operations, construction, retail, consumer packaged goods, companies that are not tech-forward companies. And so because of that, I'm trying to give them a jump-off path that is the lowest barrier for them. So a lot of them, I tell them to skin their knees, practice a lot, learn everything through ChatGPT, keep it separate from the business. Treat that like it's your staging environment where you're learning, you're training it, and even if you're training it the bad stuff, it's okay because it's separate from your business stuff. And then if they're a Microsoft environment, Copilot, that's just a natural jump point into something next. And if they're a Google environment or Google Workspace environment, which very few are. The companies I talk to, middle America, we're talking a couple hundred employees to maybe 150,000 employees. 90% of them are Microsoft. So that's why Copilot is number 2. If my customer base was mostly Google instead of Microsoft, I'd be putting Gemini as my number 2 employee. Yep. So here's where we are. Now, how many of you are developing and really, you would say, one of the leading chargers of moving forward in AI? You're developing products. You're training, you're teaching, okay? How many of you are users of AI and just enjoy using it? Okay, perfect. So a lot of you, and you, you're on the front end of this big, fast moving train called AI. This train is moving thousands of kilometers per second. This train is moving so fast it can get you from Singapore to Los Angeles in 30 minutes. This train is moving really, really fast. And many of you are on the front end of that train and developing and adopting AI and helping others adopt AI. But the people that I talk to, they're at the ass end of that train. They are the slowest to want to adopt. I am pulling them on as fast as I possibly can because I keep reminding them it's never too late to get onto the AI train. But I'm helping people baby step their way into, this world of AI. So, and my target audience, they're the CEOs. They are the ones who can make decisions about AI. And one of the big things I talk about, because I talk to both CEOs as well as leadership teams, and I remind people over and over again that unfortunately or fortunately, if you want AI to take off in a company, you don't give it to your IT department. If you want AI to take off effectively, you don't bring it down to somebody that's at a junior level that happens to be very scrappy. As a CEO, you have to be the leader of the adoption. We had, I'll just sort of go through a couple things here, but I did want to show, how many of you saw this MIT report that came out a couple of days ago, maybe a week ago? Yeah? Did anybody actually read it? What's that?
I keep reading articles about how AI is hype and the bubble is going to pop any day now, but I don't believe that person. Didn't McKinsey have something to do with that report though?
Well, this was MIT.
Is it the MIT report?
And McKinsey is doing one that says that there's a lot of risks. Everybody else is jumping on the bandwagon. Gartner just did one that basically tried to, they just released, I think a day or two ago, that basically said AI adoption is going great because they want their magic quadrant to shine. Never question the hidden motivation of Gartner. I'm a part of this CMO group, this national CMO group, and we have a Slack channel of a couple of thousand CMOs. One of the channel's titles is called Damn It Gartner, because you kind of have to, especially for bigger companies, tech companies, you kind of have to play that game. I do think that 95% of stuff fails. I'm not calling BS on this, because I've seen how people shit the bed when it comes to trying to adopt AI. There's some initiative, there's some project that takes place. Somebody is given their responsibilities because they were the most excited about it or identified this new cool thing that AI could do to help. The employees are not taught or told or trained or even given a directive of, hey, as a company, this is what we're going to do. The CEO talks about that AI thing only because he or she can talk about this. And projects fail. I see failed projects all the time. I try to come in after the failure to do cleanup crew. I'm at the caboose, and I'm also a janitor of AI. But this, I think, is actually very true, because I see it. Do you guys see this? Do you see it failing in places and people trying to adopt it?
I've actually been part of a failed initiative because I was in charge of bringing it to a small MSP, and when we got to the point where we were going to buy hardware, when we got to the point where we were going to buy hardware, and they found out how much the locally hosted models were going to cost because we couldn't use the ones in the cloud like ChatGPT or even Copilot because they did government work, they pretty much rejected it because they were looking at like a $140,000 bill. And I pretty much said to them, I agree, it's too expensive right now. It's not that I think AI is going to fail in 2 years into the future, but right now it's too expensive for most companies.
I can't reach you, man.
Here.
Yeah, I've seen it where been direct cause of where something has failed because the team thought the AI wasn't working well enough, and it was just the expectations were too high, and it wasn't able to be adopted enough because the expectations were for it to work extremely right away.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you why they fail, and it's just not. This is not rocket surgery at all. It fails because we are still very afraid of AI. We have a fear of AI. 100 years ago, actually 1927, so almost 100 years ago, the first movie that introduced the humans to the concept of AI came out. It was a silent German film called Metropolis in 1927. AI was going to take us over and kill us. Fast forward a little bit. Anybody heard of Arnold Schwarzenegger? AI wins, humans lose, game over, man. Thanks, James Cameron. You really scared the crap out of us. And then you fast forward again, and humans become the batteries that power the AI machines that take over the world, create all kinds of chaos, get rid of the sun, there's clouds permanently, all that stuff. And so, and it's even invading our steak sauce these days. So this fear is real, but the fear I see every day when I go and I talk to these companies. The employees fear AI is taking their jobs. And in some cases they're right, but in most cases they're wrong. In the technology world, in the software world, we keep hearing about all these layoffs that have happened at Microsoft and Amazon and Google and all these things, and it's under the guise of AI efficiency because that sounds really good to share owners. But the reality is a lot of these companies overhired over the last few years, and they're having to retrench because the economy is not booming quite like it was. And so they're trying to use the excuse of AI, but it is not the truth yet. It may be, but we're not there yet. It can't be trusted enough. It can't be automated enough. It does some really cool things, but I still have been trying for a year to have the ultimate AI salesperson make outbound phone calls for me. And it has not succeeded. Or it does things good 2 out of 5 times. We're still not quite there. So this fear of AI, the employees fear it's going to take their jobs. The managers and the leaders of these companies I talk to, they fear that the employees that learn AI really well are going to take their jobs. And the CEOs, they fear that AI is going to be some massive, expensive disruption that has no real ability to add true business value just yet. I talked to one of the Vistage groups in I think, Reading, Pennsylvania. And there's a bunch of oil and gas folks that were around this table. And I'll never forget this. This was about 4 months ago. And the chair of the group, the person that sort of facilitates the group, they choose who the speakers are. So they brought me in to have the conversation for that day. And one of the folks that was in the meeting, and it was within 5 minutes of me introducing myself, it was his conference room. He was hosting the meeting. Cowboy hat stayed on, cowboy boots propped up on his conference room table. And he said, if I catch any of my people using this goddamn generative AI bullshit, they're going to get a warning. Second time, they're fired. This is 2025 in America. Somebody is saying that anybody who uses a tool that can advance them, scale them, and help them be better, faster, smarter, and more accurate is going to be fired. Now, the good news is I didn't have to say anything. It was like he was attacked by every other member of that group, which did the job for me. But CEOs still have a massive fear. And that fear, I think, is a good reason why that 95% number from MIT is probably not too far off from being accurate.
I think fear is certainly a part of it, but there's the other side of it too, which is, as we know, the hype, right?
Yeah.
And everyone, the fear of missing out, right? Jumping on, look, at the beginning of the day, a lot of technology is still very much beta. And if
Yeah.
you work with it enough, you know that, right? Whether it's hallucinations or confabulations or whatever it is. But you don't want to be missing out, so people jump in without strategic initiatives. And rather than fail, what I see a lot of is just lack of focus,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. No, very good point. It's a lack of focus and lack of direction and lack of treating this as a business strategy. It's treated like some kind of middle school science fair project and not taken seriously. Now, part of it is a lot of the people that are selling a lot of AI products are hyping it up a little too much, giving promises they can't deliver and can't keep. The other problem is, did you know that there's over 2,000 new AI software products that come to market every month? 2,000, right? Because of vibe coding, because people can develop things very quickly. A lot of it is a skin on top of a GPT, but they private label it and make it seem like it's their very own. But very good point that it is overhyped, and if we talk about a bubble, I don't think it's a financial bubble. I think it's a hype bubble that will probably burst, and MIT has definitely brought a lot of that to the forefront. I talk a lot about this guy, Micah Kaufman. He's the CEO of Fiverr. Anybody heard of Fiverr? $5 for a logo, $20 for a landing page, $100 you get a full website. Well, if you've seen some of the things that Sora can do, you see some of the things that like Veo can do with Google, and a lot of these tools like Descript, I use opus.clip or opusclip.pro or whatever to do a lot of my short form videos. It does so much stuff. I don't need to send it off to somebody in some country and spend $20 or $30 for doing some kind of video work. The AI does it for me, and it does a pretty good job. Like, that's one area where I think it's doing a good job. He said something that was like a 5-alarm fire, because his business model is being completely wiped away. Completely wiped away. He said, with generative AI, the easy tasks, they're getting automated. Those things we thought were hard tasks before are the new easy tasks. But the things that we thought were impossible, that we could never do, are now not only possible, but doable. And I like that. I think there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of promise, but we gotta get delivering these things. And then there's these 3 companies, Box, Spotify, Duolingo. All their CEOs have basically said the same thing. No new hires. Again, no new hires of humans unless you can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that AI can't do it better, faster, or stronger for you. So they're freezing all of their hiring unless somebody has to write a business case to prove that a human can do it better. So that's kind of a lot of the stuff I talk about. I'd love this to be a little bit more of a discussion. One of the things I'm playing around with right now is, did anybody see the movie Moneyball? Brad Pitt, Oakland A's, anybody raise your hand? Okay. The movie was about the Oakland A's and their general manager really rewiring how baseball is measured and won. And I think we're in the Moneyball moment right now when it comes to AI and businesses, that this has the capacity to completely rewire how businesses are done. Now, I don't think people are or should be wiring their businesses with an AI first model like I did just yet, but I do think that that we're getting there very, very quickly.
I don't think it just has the capability to rewire business. I think we have to start thinking about what money means and what work in general means with these new models.
And
it's not just these models. It's like you said, the things we thought were impossible are now tasks that we're taking on. And soon we'll be pairing these digital LLM minds with capable dexterity, robots with actual dexterity. And I can actually imagine a robot doing my laundry or putting the dishes away. What that actually means is maybe a mechanic or
Yeah.
a lot of those physical tasks
Yeah.
that people think, oh, those aren't going to be automated, but yeah, I think they will be actually within about 10 years.
Yeah, I think that a lot of this automation will take place. I think we will start to see the physical manifestation of AI. I don't know if anybody's been to China lately or seen the videos about what goes on with some of the development of robots and AI first robots in China, but it's impressive. It is amazing. This camera that's followed me around, the reason why I got it is because it's an AI camera. It is, well, the phone, but the system it sits on tracks me using AI. It does a better job than the DJI I had that I tried to use. It does a better job than there was some other one that I tried to use. This one supposedly uses AI, and it is a physical manifestation of AI, right? But it just has a swivel and turns and tracks me, like Big Brother, like all those robots are going to do. But that's a really good point. Other thoughts? Like, let's make this a conversation. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a thought that, having delivered IT solutions for a long time, most IT projects fail. I mean, pick out the AI, so 75, that number is higher for AI, but I also think it's because improper scoping of its capacity. So
Sorry, it's because what?
improper scoping of capacity. So when we were driving up, we were talking about my car has cruise control and I love it. I'm never going to take my hands off the wheel or climb in the back seat. And that's where AI is at.
Yeah, yeah.
You have expectations that it can drive the car. It can't, but it can still make my commute a lot easier. Right? It's just application of the capacity.
So one of my favorite classes, I got a master's of science in management technology from Georgia Tech. Go Yellow Jackets. My favorite class was the transformation, was organizational change and organizational behavior. And the best analogy in the world was when somebody gets a new golf club. Now, I used to golf, I don't golf as much anymore, but I remember when I got this new, freaking toaster oven sized, club that I would hit, and it was awesome. And I would hit it the first couple of times, and it ball went far, like ball did good. But then after I started to try to create that muscle memory, it got worse and worse and worse. And I had to retrain myself. And that's what's happening with AI is we're trying to change without changing the culture and the organization to adapt it and to sort of be ready for it. And that's where I swear to God, I didn't pay him, but that's where the idea of AIQ comes into place. And it's in my book, and it's something that I start to measure with the companies that I work with. It's the AI IQ. How AI first are the people that are in the company, are they feeling comfortable to learn and to understand AI? And what I've seen firsthand are the companies who get the higher ROAI, the higher return on AI, is when all the employees feel like they are able to try things, fail with them, try again, fail again, and really play around with AI and given the space and given the time to play around with some AI tools, especially in marketing and sales, operations, some of those areas. So that's a big difference that I see in the successful adoption is when the employees feel like they can talk to each other about this. 90% of the companies that are out there, when they start talking about their use, when an employee talks about their use of AI, they think of it as cheating. And they're scared to talk about it. Seriously, and it's 2025, and you'd think that this is the dumbest thing in the world to be scared of talking about AI in your business. But we're seeing people scared to talk about using AI. We got the guy in Pennsylvania who says he wants to fire people. We have people who try it once, like, oh, I tried to have Copilot write my email for me, and it didn't sound like me. I'm like, okay, did you train it? Did you teach it what you want to sound like? Did you have it go through your email so it can sound like you? Well, no. Okay, great. And that's why I feel like, and I heard this analogy yesterday at an event I spoke at, generative AI, no matter what the tool is, it is a 10-year-old idiot savant. It's Zach Galifianakis in The Hangover. Smart as a whip, but no common skills, no common sense. And that's where we are, and we have to train the common sense into this stuff. Otherwise, it's going to sound like an idiot.
It's also over agrees too often. Like, even if since it's a child and it doesn't know when it's right or wrong, really, it'll always tell you you're right and always stroke your ego. And that's why that kid committed suicide.
That's why the kid committed suicide. That's why the Minnesota shooter, the Minneapolis shooter, he used ChatGPT to figure out the best ways to buy guns, the best places to go. He took a picture of the schematic of the blueprint of the church to figure out the best place to get the maximum impact.
It told me I deserved a Nobel Prize.
What's that?
It told me I deserved a Nobel Prize.
Has anybody seen, so if you haven't, the latest South Park episode from last Thursday? Has anybody seen the latest South? This is exactly what you're talking about. So, in the South Park episode, there is you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. Even if you hate South Park, you gotta watch this. There is a guy that owns a cannabis, field. What do you call it? Cultivation. And ICE comes in and takes all of his employees. So he doesn't know what to do. So he uses the ChatGPT voice assistant, and ChatGPT tells him what he could be doing with integration of going from cannabis as just manufacturing it or growing it to like all of these like AI tech ideas of how you can infuse cannabis and technology. And all it did was, ChatGPT, the voice assistant, all it did was talk about how wonderful they were, how smart they were, how good they were, all these things. I highly recommend to go and see and just find a way to watch the latest South Park episode because it's a perfect example. And good thing for was it Trey and Matt Parker or Stone, whoever the guys who did South Park, because they just nailed it. It tells you what you want to hear. I have a voice assistant that I call Q from James Bond. By the way, who here has used the voice AI assistant in some of the tools? All right, quite a few.
Did you build your own? Or?
How many of you have named your voice AI assistant? What's the name?
Oh, I don't have like a specific name. I
Okay.
just have one that I created.
Okay, I call mine Q.
Is it a wake word or what is that?
It's just basically what you call it. So here's the deal. 14% of people who have used the voice AI assistant within ChatGPT mostly, 14% have given it a name. 86% of men give it a woman's name. 82% of women give it a man's name. And it tells you what you want to hear. It tells you not just that it's okay to commit suicide, but here's the best way to do it, right? Which is what happened to that kid a couple of weeks ago, or I think it was a month ago, but it just came out that it was ChatGPT that was it. So it does tell you what you want to hear. And this is something I have talked about for many months, is this is the problem with people using it and trusting it as a therapist, as a best friend, as a coach, as like I use it as my CEO coach, but I also know and have seen enough to where I can ask it for things, and I know its number one job is to blow smoke up my ass. That's what it is. Its number one job is to make me happy in whatever way it thinks it can try to make me happy. Good questions, good comments. Other thoughts, other questions about what I've seen out there. I've talked to about 1,264 CEOs so far in the last 18 months.
You talked about training the AI so to find better emails. How do you talk to people about trainings?
Yeah. There's a lot of different ways. And I'll go ahead and fast forward. How much more time? A few more minutes?
Yeah, you have 10 more minutes.
Okay, perfect. Let me get to there when I get to my roadmap, because I do talk about training and we can talk about how. The one thing I want to talk about right now is when I go and work with these companies and I sort of do the before versus the after, this is where I see the measured return on AI. This is where I see businesses actually treating AI like a business strategy and one that should be measured. It becomes a part of the KPIs of a business. It becomes a part of people's performance evaluations. It becomes a part of all of this. When we deploy it, this is where we see the biggest gains. Marketing, it's kind of ahead of the curve, right? They've been using it as the ultimate cheat code for getting content marketing done, for drafting mass emails, for writing blogs, for SEO, for all those things. Sales has been doing a lot better, especially because of the third-party tools, right? Salesforce has a lot of AI built into it. HubSpot has a lot of AI built into it. A lot of them are using Copilot or Gemini in some instances, but doing pretty well. HR is using it for a lot of automation of screening candidates, as well as responding to offers. One of the best uses of an AI agent with Copilot is turning it into the ultimate HR answer engine, so that the HR people don't have to respond to basic questions about benefits and vacation and policies and this and that. Finance. Anybody in finance here? Okay. They love their spreadsheets, and nothing is going to make a spreadsheet gooder than what they do with the spreadsheets that they have today. There's not a lot of ROI in the finance department, and that's actually okay. That's where you need to minimize the risk to as much of a level
I built some
as you
formulas
possibly can.
with AI. This for my aunt. When I was visiting, we had a family reunion, and she needed to create a schedule. Like, you have a bunch of classes.
Yeah.
And they have hours, and then the students would select the classes that they want for the semester, and it was my job to try to create an Excel sheet that would spread those classes into 8 hours per day and 40 hours per week.
Okay.
And she was having a really hard time creating a formula that would take those classes and spread them across the sheets that she had.
Yeah.
And I'm not good with Excel. I'm not an Excel guy. I don't do finance or anything like that. But I was able to communicate with AI by feeding it the Excel sheets and telling it what I wanted, and it gave me the visual VBA.
So you're not in finance, are you?
No. But I was able to do it.
Yeah. But finance people are doctors, lawyers, finance tend to be the slowest adopters.
Oh,
They love their spreadsheets. Now, the one area where we're starting to see some really good returns is within the companies who have FP&A. If you know FP&A, that's the financial planning and what's the A stand for? Something. They're the real data scientists. They're the ones that are using things like Power BI to get some intelligence together for different members of the different parts of the organization. I've started to see a lot of impact of Copilot on top of Power BI for financial analysis and for collecting data. That's been a great use. Operations sort of all over the map, 1.3, CEOs at 1.5x. This is where people are seeing their returns as far as how much more efficiency, how much more scale, where they can do things a lot better, faster, and stronger.
What do you see them doing with this return?
What are they doing with the return?
So we got 80%.
Yeah, so, nobody's firing. I haven't seen anybody firing employees. I have seen, a couple of other real indicators. One is efficiency. So they're not hiring as much. One of the things that I have been working with companies on is helping them rebuild their org chart. So they're not removing people, but instead of adding people, they're adding more agents. HR is a great place to add the agents. Marketing is a great place to add the agents. Sales automation, there's a lot more intelligence to make it feel very customized to prospects. So that's really the goal. What they're also able to do is reduce errors, reduce review cycles, and cut costs when it comes to people costs. Not getting rid of people. We're not there yet. I haven't seen any company say, thanks to AI, I now get to go fire a bunch of people. There are companies that do that. There's actually a 200-person company in the UK that that came and reached out to me about some US operations. And they're bragging about the fact that on average, the companies they work with, they can reduce headcount by 200 to 250 employees. That's not the companies that I work with. That's not the companies that's not what I'm selling. What I'm selling is your employees can do a lot more. Your accuracy can go up. Your time to get things to market can go down. Things like RFPs. So a lot of companies that I work with, they are in the business of responding to proposals through an RFP process, a request for proposal. And it's a big pain in the ass. Any salesperson you talk to and you bring up the word RFP, all of a sudden they sphincter up and they really get nervous about like all the work that's involved and included in that. And one of the best things I do on the sales side is help rewire the RFP process to where AI is actually writing 90% of it. People are reviewing and editing and auditing it. But it's a lot of fun to see how that comes together and how that efficiency is gained. Good question, though. So, the ways to measure efficiency: revenue impact, cost reduction, elimination of low-value tasks, risk reduction, customer experience improvements. That's the other big area, customer experience. When you have, chatbots built into the website that are fed with all of your knowledge, they can answer questions for people very quickly. When the people that answer the phone are able to find information and answer questions faster when they are on the phone with people, that's more efficiency, that's better customer experience. And then speed. So ultimately, to get to that return on AI, and this is kind of the big precepts in the book that I wrote. And I wrote this book, it came out in July. And the goal was I wanted to talk to 1,000 CEOs before I published a book. And I did. And I quickly wrote the book. And by the way, it's a good book. It's written at about a 6th grade reading level. And it's not, and the book is called, AI Without the BS, the CEO's Playbook for Actually Getting AI Right. And it's not that I think CEOs are dumb, just the opposite. They have so much stuff going on that half of this book is just a set of checklists. Here's the things to do it right. I should have called it How Not to Get Stuck in the MIT 95% Problem Area, but that report wasn't out by the time I wrote the book. So the return on AI is taking the AIQ, the knowledge that everybody has and the comfort everybody has with AI, and subtracting the fear of AI. And when we start to measure ROAI, both intangibles, as well as people having more confidence with AI and sort of overcoming their fear of AI, we start to see those returns happen.
How do you answer their fears about their IP or their data?
Yeah.
When it comes to privacy?
Yeah, it's easy. I don't have to. A lot of times people come to me because they're learning that their competitors are doing something. We live in a very interesting world right now. Privacy is not as important as it was. Now, corporate espionage and people's data being stolen and things like that is important, but it's not as critical as how fast people move. The companies that I work with, even though they're not high tech, even though they're not, what you would call innovators, they are people who are trying to beat their competitors in every single opportunity, every single project, in every single way. And so we let the competitors sort of, there's always scuttlebutt, or some competitor goes to a conference and says, we're starting to use AI, and then the CEO of the competing company is like, shit, we're not doing anything with AI. And they're growing, and I saw that they beat us in 2 deals in this construction project. So we're starting to see that a lot. Back to your point you were making earlier, I wanted to talk about the big thing that I do is I give people this AI without the BS roadmap, or this no BS roadmap. And I'll go through it really quickly, and then we'll just talk and chat and have some fun. Number 1, set the tone. Most CEOs don't say, we are very curious about AI. And we're either going to go all in, or we're going to try it in specific places, or we're going to sit back and watch while others do it so we can see what they do wrong. CEOs don't set the tone of what is going on with AI. Yes, sir.
I wanted to know, because you're talking to a lot of CEOs who are really busy, how do you actually get them to build a playground, to actually take the time to actually develop something that's outside of something that is going to return ROI right away?
That's where I come in. I do that for people. I think of myself as the CEO's AI consigliere. And I, at some point, will build a team of people to do this for me. But right now, I'm in learning mode. So I go and set and help them build, so setting the tone, build the plan, how slow or how fast you want to move, but have a plan in place. By the way, step 0 is have an AI acceptable use policy. And only 1% of the companies I talk to before I work with them have some type of AI acceptable use policy. Basics. Don't use the free versions of stuff, because when you do, your stuff becomes their stuff. Don't use this and trust it and not have somebody review this. I'll get to you in just one second. These kinds of things. So set the tone, build your plan, and this, again, none of this is rocket surgery, but there is no plan. There's no plan from the top. There's no plan that's aligned with the executive team. There's just these like sidebar science fair projects that seem to take place that don't do very well. Build the playground, whether that's an online environment or an offline environment. What I tell people to do is use ChatGPT as your training ground, as far as like testing things out, experimenting, failing, and trying to get things to work, but don't connect it to your, don't use the connectors to connect it to your critical systems. But then use Copilot or Gemini as your production environment that you really want to train with as much accurate information as possible. Embrace agility. I tell people, do not ever sign a 3-year contract on a software application ever again. Because you may have an ERP that you love today, but if they don't step up and start utilizing AI in their systems to make things better, faster, and stronger for you as a company, you don't want to be stuck with that lemon for 2 more years or 2.5 more years. So the days of 3-year contracts for software, which is a very common thing in mid-market and enterprise, is pretty much done. Then I also show people how to create AI channels within their Teams or their Slack or their Google Workspace or wherever their employees collaborate. Set up an AI channel. Also set up a center of excellence for AI. Not just one person, but a group of people that can really make an impact. Leverage the speed of innovation. Number one thing I tell people is use the existing software that you're using today that should be using AI in it. Your ERP, your CRM, your marketing automation, all of these systems, your financial systems, all of them should be adopting and using AI in their software applications so that the CEOs of the businesses don't have to create a custom project themselves. I call it the scrubbing bubbles of AI. So make them do the work so that you don't have to, right? Let the systems that should be innovating with AI do it so that the companies don't have to spend massive amounts of money on this. Train it with your AI values and ethics, or train AI with your values and ethics. Very simple thing I did for one company. They had their core values all over the walls in their office. I literally took a picture of one of those, uploaded it to their Copilot, and said, these are the core values. When you respond, respect the core values or follow the core values so that you are staying on brand and you're aligned with the values of the company. And that changes the responses big time. Start training generative AI now. So what I tell people is you want a separate staging environment, whether it's offline or online. So ChatGPT is a great example of online. Iterate.ai is a company that I work with locally that builds their own, that can do a separate environment that's offline. But build that playground so people can play and make mistakes. And then the training to train involves uploading the right information in the right way to generative AI. And this is where I also like Copilot. Because because Microsoft already understands the hierarchy, Active Directory, who has permission to get access to what, who doesn't have permission, certain levels. training becomes a lot easier because it trains on the stuff that it should have access to versus the stuff it should not have access to. But one of the simplest examples of training is when I talk to CEOs and they're like, oh yeah, I tried Copilot and it sounded like crap and I didn't use it. I'm like, okay, let's train it and let's start using it over and over again. And when you have it do an RFP, a request for proposal, train it and telling it what it did right and what it did wrong. That's a lot of the training, as well as getting access to the systems. Find generation AI employees, people that probably, didn't go to college, that have been using generative AI since they were in high school, a couple of years ago, and know how to ask the right questions to these systems, or how to structure the prompts with these systems to get the right answers. Trust but verify everything. Keep a human involved in the loop. Always keep a human involved in a loop. Don't let things go out the door unless a human has had some oversight. We may get beyond that point, but for these companies, mid-market companies, they're not there yet with that level of automation. And then the last one is have a disaster plan. There will be a time when somebody sends out the wrong code and systems go down. I was at a Vistage group session a couple of weeks ago, and one of the guys was like, yeah, he said Copilot was down for 2 hours. He's like, I didn't know what the fuck to do with myself. Like, I use Copilot so much. It was down for just 2 hours, and I thought I needed to leave for a day or two or take a vacation day because I had become so dependent on Copilot. I don't think that this is going to, do like what Fight Club does, which is like, erase all of the debt. I don't think it's going to be a malicious attack, but I do think that just like what happened with CrowdStrike about 1.5 years ago, where they pushed out an update and it basically shut down like different airlines, their systems were down, banks, their systems were down. And IT departments were very busy trying to push back the previous version of that code and fixed it, and it was all okay. But we're going to run into issues, especially as AI is developing AI and making some mistakes. We're already seeing that with ChatGPT 5. They're rolling back some of the features because it was making some assumptions about which models to use. So that's basically it. I'm kind of out of time. I'm here. Would love to have conversations. I know you, Michael?
If you would like to do Q&A, we can
Yeah,
kind of do
yeah.
some Q&A.
Let's talk. What else do you want to know?
What do you think is, for small organizations, such a source for competitive advantage?
Sorry, what's that?
For a small organization, if you're a CEO, the competitive advantage you can gain from this is huge. And the bigger organizations